Hi, this is Susie, otherwise known as Susie Q Scraps, and today I'm going to show you how you can play with and modify digital rub-ons for various looks on your pages. So I have a new document I've created, and I've pulled in a paper and a couple of rub-ons from the Second Chances collection. I'm going to go ahead and hide this pink grid rub-on, so we can focus just on this blue one. Let me zoom in so we can see better what we're doing. If I hide it for a moment, you can see there's a lot of texture on this background paper, and when I turn the rub-on back on, where the rub-on's distressed, we're seeing that texture come through. But where the rub-on's not so distressed, we're not seeing as much of the texture that we maybe would if we had actually rubbed this or stamped this on a piece of textured paper. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this rub-on by grabbing the layer and dragging it to the new layer icon and then letting go. So now I have a copy of it. I'm just going to turn the copy off, and we'll play with the original to begin with. So one way to get that texture to come up through is by adjusting the blending modes. Right now it's set to normal. I'm going to go ahead and open up that menu so you can see some of the other options. I'm going to show you the ones I use the most. This is the darker section. So if I want to make this darker, I could click multiply, and it's going to take the properties of my rub-on and multiply it with what's going on with the paper behind it. So I get a slightly darker blue, and you're going to see a little bit more of the texture of the paper coming through. You could also do linear burn, which is going to make it much more darker, and if it's too dark, you can always adjust the opacity down a bit. If I wanted to make it lighter, I could focus on this section and choose screen, which is going to make it a light blue, almost white. You'll see a lot of the texture coming through. If I want it more white, I could go for linear dodge. But all of that's going to be dependent on the paper that's underneath it. So let me go ahead and drag this green paper in. And let's change this back to linear burn. So linear burn on the green paper versus the blue paper, you can see that blue is different. It's more greenish blue against the green paper. That could be a problem if you've got your rub-on the way you like it, and then you decide to switch your background, and now suddenly your rub-on's doing something different based on that blending mode. So what I like to do when I'm really going to be playing with those background papers, maybe changing my mind a bit, is I actually like to change the color of the original rub-on. In this case blue, this was the copy we made earlier, to a black. So I'm going to add a new layer with the new layer icon and hit Control G to clip it, and then I'm going to come here to my color swatch, and I'm going to choose a black. I picked 282828. You don't want straight black, but something close to black. I'm going to click OK, and then Alt backspace to fill this layer, and because it's clipped to this rub-on, it's only changing the color of my rub-on. So I'm going to hit Control E to merge those two, and now I'm going to play with the blending mode. So I'm going to go ahead and go to this section now. I'm going to choose Overlay. As you can see, that the color is really more along the same lines of this lighter blue. It's just a darker version of it. If I wanted it even darker, I could duplicate the layer. So I'm going to hold Alt, then click and drag that layer up, and then I could adjust the opacity if it's too dark. I'm going to go ahead and delete that layer. So we've got this rub-on that's just on overlay, and right now it's bluish. Well, if I were to put a green paper, now it's green. So doing it this way, by first making it black and then using maybe overlay or soft light, it's really going to mimic the colors of whatever paper I have underneath it. So that's one way that you can adjust rub-ons, by playing with the blending modes. I'm going to go ahead and turn that layer off and turn back on this grid layer. So maybe I don't want pink, maybe I want green. So one way I can make this green is by using a color fill like we did with the black. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on this green paper and grab my eyedropper tool and just suck out a green, maybe try and find a little bit darker green. And then turn off the paper, and I'm going to come back up to this rub-on, add a new layer with the new layer icon, Control G to clip it, and then Alt backspace to fill it with this green. So now I've got a green that's similar to the kit, and it's just a solid color, and it's going to take on wherever it was more transparent below, it's going to look the same. But the green's going to be a solid green all the way through it. Another way you could change the color, I delete that layer, is with a paper. So I'm going to drag this green paper up above, turn it on, and then Control G to clip. And now you're going to get a little bit of texture applied to that as well. And if the paper had varying shades of green, then you would see that in the rub-on as well. You can also add a pattern paper. So let me drag this pattern paper in. And I'm going to hit Control G again. It's going to clip it to this grid, and then you can see you're going to get a completely different look to your rub-on. So those are some of my favorite ways to adjust rub-ons. Adjusting the blending mode, changing the color to black and adjusting the blending mode, adding a color fill, adding a colored solid paper, and even adding a pattern paper. So have a play with it. If you have any questions, email me, suzyqscraps@gmail.com, or visit my website, suzyqscraps.com. Thanks.